Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Rohit. I hope that's about time we can start our session for today. Let others join in due course if you join. So let me
Yes,
share my screen first. So hope my screen is visible and I'm audible to you all.
yes, sir.
Yes,
Right,
sir.
great. Fine. Then we will go ahead with this today's
Sir.
session. Okay. So let us have a quick recall of what we have done in yesterday's session. So we have talked about electric field lines. Then we have talked about the dipole, which is in uniform electric field. What are the possible torques applied over there? What is the net force applied on that dipole? And then we have seen how we can calculate electric flux over a particular geometry because of uniform electric field. So we have also discussed about what are the various formulas, as you can see in our last session, that we have seen 4 or 5 types of formulas and where to use those formulas for finding out electric flux at the surface of a particular geometry that we have already considered. Just one point I would like to say about constant electric field and uniform electric field, that both terms are analogous to each other. Whenever I say constant electric field or I call it as uniform electric field, it means that electric field is constant at that particular instant and in the entire space direction is same. If I use the word constant or if I use the word uniform, both are literally same and they will be analogous to uniform distribution of electric field in a space. So with that particular knowledge of electric flux, let us start with some calculation and let us try to calculate what will be the amount of electric flux over a particular geometry. So this is a derivation which you can find in many standard books, and I will try to derive it in very simple steps. And let us see how to find out the electric flux through a cylinder with its axis parallel to the electric field direction. So what I am going to do is, let us consider the geometry. I have a cylinder. Electric fields are in this direction, and this is electric field is parallel to the axis of the cylinder. We are about to calculate the electric flux which will pass through the cylinder. So let us see how to find out. So if I see this geometry of cylinder, there are 3 parts which I can denote it as the left hand cap. As you can see, this is the left hand cap of the cylinder, and that area vector will be in this particular direction. Now the second geometry is the tube itself. This is the outer surface of the tube. And the third geometry will be the right hand cap. And the area vector will be in this particular direction. So these are the 3 possible geometries or elements of a cylinder. And we can calculate electric field separately for each geometry. And finally, we can add up. That will give you the total amount of flux over this particular cylinder. So I have mentioned it that this is electric flux due to left hand cap. This is electric flux for the tube, and this is electric flux for the right hand cap. You can see in the diagram that this is electric flux. Please remember the direction of the area vector. In this case, area goes outward, electric field is this. So the angle between electric field and the area vector is going to be 180 degree. In this case, this electric field is in this direction and the area vector will come outward of the tube. So the angle which electric field vector makes with the area vector will be 90 degree. And for the third case, you can see electric field vector and area vector is parallel to each other. So what the angle we will get is 0 degree. So from this fundamental understanding about 3 geometries, let us calculate step by step that what will be the electric flux for the left hand cap, for the tube, and for the right hand cap. So for the left hand cap, I can directly write it in terms of E dot dA left. So dA is nothing but area of the left cap. If I write in terms of dot product, it becomes cos 180 degree, as we have already seen the formula of electric flux. So I get it at overall cos 180 degree gives you minus. So minus comes over here. And this is the entire electric flux at the left cap of this cylinder. Now I can integrate it, and on integration, I can simply write it as that E left, that is the actual area of this particular cap, that is left cap, and I can write it as electric flux will be equivalent to minus EA left. So electric flux on the left cap is minus EA left. Now let us calculate for the second part. Now the second part is for the tube. For the tube, electric flux, let us see the axis for how it is first. Electric field is over here. It is pointing towards me.
So the total flux will be 0?
Yes, correct. Total flux will be 0. So I'm going to prove this, how this total flux is 0 for this. So E is pointing at you, as you can see, for electric field. And dA is in radial direction, which is perpendicular to the tube surface. Now I can see the angle between E and dA is 90 degrees. So I can simply write it in form of E dot dA tube, which becomes with respect to cos 90 degrees. I get it as 0. So the overall electric flux because of tube will be 0. So for the first case, for the cap case, for the left cap, we have got it as in terms of minus EA left. And in case of tube, I am going to get it 0. So the tube contributes nothing to the flux, as we can prove it mathematically. Now the right hand cap, as you can see, the difference is now the angle between electric field vector and the surface vector or the area vector is 0 degree in this case. So I can do the calculations. I can simply keep the value of cos theta as cos 0, and I get it as EDA, and I will get it as EA right. So this becomes positive in this case. So these were the three geometries. You know flux because of left hand cap. You know flux because of right hand cap. You know flux because of tube. Now finally, I can add all those, and I can see the total flux on that cylindrical geometry will be because of the surface, which is in the left cap, surface which is in the right cap, and the surface of the tube. Now I can keep all the values, and you can see that due to the tube, the net flux is 0. Due to the left, I get it as EA left. This is minus because angle is 180 degree. And then we have done for the right, EA right. It will be positive because the angle is 0 degree. Now, A right and A left for a cylinder are exactly same, as you all know. So from the geometrical point of view, you can see the net flux over a closed cylinder or over a closed volume, which is cylinder in this case, is 0 in this particular case. So we have developed a relationship that suppose if I have a cylinder which is kept in uniform electric field, then the net flux over that particular cylinder is going to be 0. So what does it mean? Net flux is 0. It means every electric field line that goes in also goes out. So there's nothing which is remaining in that. Whatever electric flux is coming inside, the same thing is going out. So the net flux of a cylinder is 0 in this. So I hope you have understood how to calculate flux, net flux over a geometry. Now the same thing, you can repeat it for the case of a rectangle, for a case of a triangle, or any other geometry. The idea is discretize the geometry into small segments, calculate electric flux because of each segment, and then you take summation of all segments. So finally, you will get the electric flux because of the entire configuration. As we have seen, the net flux through a closed cylindrical surface is 0. Now suppose if I have a positive charge inside the cylinder, what will happen? You can see if I have a positive charge, then we have more lines going out than in. So whatever the lines are coming because of this electric field line, because of this positive charge, some more electric field lines will go out. And in case, suppose instead of positive, if I have a negative charge, then we can say there will be more lines going in than out. So we have understood three cases from here. The first case was when we have a cylindrical geometry without any charge inside, and we say the net flux is going to be zero. But what will happen if a small amount of charge, whether it's positive or negative, is enclosed by that particular geometry? Of course, there will be some amount of flux. Now, this idea of enclosing a charge by a closed geometry relates us with a very standard law. So, if can someone comment on which law I would be talking about? If I have a closed geometry and some sort of charge is inside that particular geometry, then which law?
Gauss law?
Gauss law, right? So what we are going to do, now we are going to consider this with respect to world famous Gauss law. So let me say something about Gauss
Sir,
law.
आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
Is it? Now it is coming?
Yes, sir. Jawad.
Okay, great. So Gauss was the scientist who gave you the idea about how a charge is enclosed and what will be the amount of that charge, whatever amount of charge is, what will be the amount of electric field that due to that particular charge. So this Gauss law gives you a very high relationship or a very high idea about calculating electric field due to a particular charge. Now this charge can be of any form. Now I have already shown you in our last session that we can calculate electric field due to point charge, due to line charge, infinite line charge, cylindrical charges, spherical charges, cylindrical sheet, all things we can do. But the same thing what we have done in the previous cases, we can also do with respect to Gauss law. So let us see how Gauss law is useful. At the initial stage, you may find Gauss law is similar to what we have done in the previous cases for point charges, for all amount of charges, the cases which we have already seen. But I will try to visualize that how Gauss law is important to describe electric field because of a particular geometry. Now, Gauss law is important in a sense because it is something which can be directly calculated without integrating the entire geometry. For example, suppose if I have a line which is infinite, then integrating the infinite line is very, very difficult. Or if I have a very large line, integrating that large line is also very difficult. So we use Gauss law and we say that there is some charge which is surrounded by a closed geometry, and we are able to find out electric field due to that charge at a distance that is known as Gaussian distance, or we call it as Gaussian geometry, that we will see how it is. So let us start with Gauss law. So mathematically, Gauss law says that electric flux around a closed surface is equivalent to the charge enclosed upon epsilon naught. Please remember, I'm talking about permittivity, that is permittivity of free space. So I'm talking about the charge which is placed in a free space. It is not in some other medium. If it is in some other medium, then epsilon naught and epsilon r, relative permittivity, will come into picture. So we will find that Gauss law gives a simple way to calculate electric field for charge distribution that exhibits a high degree of symmetry. So that is what, if we have symmetric geometry, then we can use Gauss law to find out electric field because of that particular charge. And we will see more complex charge distribution for advanced classes. So of course, in coming classes, I will be discussing about more charge distribution and advanced concept of Gauss law. So let us try to use Gauss law to calculate the electric field from an isolated point charge. So if you all recall, we have done the same thing using our fundamental concept of electric field from a point charge at a distance r. We have done the mathematical calculation. I hope it was in the third or fourth lecture. So today we will try to use the Gauss law and try to find out what will be electric field because of a point charge which is isolatedly kept in free space. Please remember, this is the case for free space. So how to analyze this? Please remember the Gauss law. Net flux around a closed geometry is equivalent to net charge enclosed upon epsilon naught, which is permittivity of free space. So let us assume the point charge, as I have shown in the previous cases too. This is the point charge, which is kept isolated in the free space. Now the electric field everywhere points away from the charge. That is what our understanding about the charge. That electric fields are directed away from positive charge and they are towards negative charge. For our case, it is positive. So you can see electric field will be directed away from the point charge. If you have any distance r away from plus q, the electric field is always directed out and has the same magnitude as the electric field at any other r. So that is already we have given standard statement. So this is the direction of electric field. Now can you see what is the symmetry of the electric field? Of course, because of the point charge, that is going to be a sphere. The symmetry of this particular point charge or electric field because of those point charge will be of a sphere. So it is spherical in nature. If you have guessed sphere, then it is very appropriate for guessing this thing. Great. So now we will try to apply Gauss law over here. So now you know the geometry. We have a point charge, and because of that point charge, I have electric field which are in spherical direction, and I have the famous Gauss law which says that net flux over a particular area will be equivalent to charge enclosed in that area upon epsilon naught. Right. So for applying our Gauss law, we want to pick up a surface for which we can easily evaluate E dot dA. That is what we can evaluate the flux. So for finding out that, we need to calculate a particular geometry over which we can apply the concept of Gauss law. So generally, we will select surface in such a way that is related to the geometry. In this case, I hope you will understand, since electric field distribution is spherical in nature, I will try to select the geometry which is spherical in nature. So I will show you how it is. So let us try to draw a Gaussian sphere of radius r, because the symmetry of electric field is spherical, which encloses the charge plus q at the center. Now we can evaluate the value of E dot dA. So our point was, we have a positive charge, electric field is coming out for it. We are about to calculate electric flux reduced by this, or we are also able to calculate electric field because of this point charge. So let us see, this is your R, as you can see. Let me select R, a radius of the sphere, and you can see dA is always pointing outward like this, and this is parallel to the electric field, as you all can see over here. So dA from that sphere is pointing in outward direction, and it is parallel to the electric field, as you can visualize over here from the diagram. Everywhere on the sphere, E and dA are parallel, and E is constant. As you can see, E is uniform, E is constant, and dA is parallel to E. So I can apply the concept of net flux, which is across the closed geometry. So E is constant, dA. Now in this case, dA is the entire surface. Integrating the entire surface of a closed volume is 4 pi r square for the case of sphere, where r is the radius of the sphere. So we have got net flux, which will be equivalent to E into the area. So the area in this case is sphere. E equals, that net flux equals to E into 4 pi r square. Please remember, r is the radius of the Gaussian sphere. We have found out the geometry, or we have defined the geometry pertaining to the Gauss law. We have got electric flux over this Gaussian sphere that will be equivalent to E 4 pi r square. Right. So we have this formula again from the Gauss law. The left hand side we have calculated. The left hand side we have already know, that is E into 4 pi r square. What about the right hand side? Right hand side is E enclosed upon epsilon naught. So what is the charge enclosed? That is plus Q. We simply write it as plus Q. So left hand side is 4 pi r square into E, which, and right hand side is equivalent to Q upon epsilon naught. Now I can find out from this equation what will be the electric field. So I have E 4 pi r square is equivalent to Q upon epsilon naught. And from here, I can write the electric field due to this particular point charge will be equivalent to Q upon 4 pi epsilon naught r square. And direction of electric field is shown in the diagram, or you can say E is radially out. And that is very true for the case of the point charge. For point charge, electric field is always directed radially outwards in the direction. And you can see in the diagram also that electric field is coming out of that particular sphere. So this is how I can calculate electric field from a point charge using the concept of Gauss law. So I have applied Gauss law for finding out electric field at a distance r. Now in this case, r is the distance selected for a Gaussian sphere. Now, but in reality, you can have value of r as a particular distance from the charge. R can be a numerical value. Q can also be a numerical value. And if you keep charge as some numerical value and r distance as some numerical value, you will finally be able to calculate the amount of electric field at a distance r from this particular charge. So please remember the distance. Distance of electric field is always away from plus Q, and it is always towards minus Q. So if we have this plus Q, instead of this I have negative Q, then what will happen? The direction of electric field will be towards negative. Now let us try to understand R. So you may say that the parameter R does not appear in the problem statement. So what we have defined, in that we don't have this value of R, so it cannot appear in the answer. That is what our point under consideration. As you can understand, that if I am taking some example, then all points should be very clear, but we have not mentioned R. But actually R is not our system parameter, but R is random because R is calculated with respect to E, or you can say E is a function of R. Because of course, if we talk about a charge and if we talk about the distance, distance will play a crucial role in determining the electric field because of a particular charge. So what we have done, we have related E with respect to charge and with respect to distance R. And this electric field we have already calculated for a point charge using our fundamental concept of definition of electric field. Electric field is equals to force upon Q, if you recall. From there also you can directly calculate. But in this case, we have done the same thing using Gauss law, and we are able to find out what will be the value of electric field because of a point charge at a distance r. R can have any value. It is not related to only Gaussian sphere radius, but it can be of any value, whatever you want to calculate in the actual numerical calculation. So you already gave us the equation for the electric field of a point charge. We haven't learned anything new, right? If you recall our previous concept, the same equation I have shown you when I was showing about electric field. But actually, this was just to demonstrate that Gauss law can be used to find out electric field of a point charge also. Gauss law is not only used for calculating small geometries such as small charge or a small amount of geometry, but it it serves a bigger purpose where we can calculate electric field due to a larger geometry, which is physically not able to discretize, because the electric field can be calculated by discretizing a geometry into small segments, and those small segments you can add up and you can find out a final electric field. But Gauss law gives you the flexibility that we can directly calculate electric field due to some particular charges on a particular volume without actually integrating the entire amount of geometry. So that is what we use Gauss law for. So there are some strategies for solving Gauss law. So please remember these strategies. They are very important when we solve Gauss law problems. I will show you some typical examples where I use Gauss law to find out electric field at a particular point R from the radial axis. So the first point in applying Gauss law is select a Gaussian surface with symmetry that matches the charge distribution. When I say with symmetry, so for a point charge, there will be some other geometry. For line charge, there will be some other geometry. And for the plane charge, or for planar charges, the geometry will be different. Right? So use symmetry to determine the direction of E on the Gaussian surface. So you need to indicate what will be the direction of E. Now you want E to be constant in magnitude and everywhere perpendicular to the surface. So we can directly say E dot dA should be equivalent to EdA. Theta should be 0 in this case. Or everywhere where it is not parallel, it should be equivalent to 0. So please, we have to select the geometry for applying Gauss law in such a way that either electric field vector is parallel to the area vector or it is perpendicular to area vector. If it is parallel, then E dot dA becomes EdA. If it is perpendicular, cos 90 becomes 0, so E dot dA becomes 0. So either flux for the surface is 0 or it is E dot dA. Then we can evaluate the surface integral. We can find out electric flux. Now the third step is determine the charge inside the Gaussian sphere. So once you know the charge, once you know the flux, you can equate both left hand side and right hand side, and then you can find out what will be the amount of electric field at that particular point because of that charge. So please remember, don't forget to specify the vector or the direction in which your electric field is. Otherwise, the entire calculation may be wrong. So these are the steps how you can apply Gauss law for finding out electric field at a particular point from a charge object, or you call it as uniform charge distributed object. So I will give you some examples, of course, so that it becomes very easy to calculate what will be the charge, what will be electric field because of that charge geometry. So I have one derivation. Let us visualize this derivation. We have to calculate the electric field for R, which is from 0 to infinity, for an insulating spherical shell of inner radius A and outer radius B. So what we are going to say, this is a sphere whose inner radius is A, outer radius is B, and with a uniform volume charge density rho spread throughout cell. So the question is, or the derivation what we are going to do, we are going to find out the electric field for all three cases. Or we can find out electric field from 0, R is 0 to R is infinity for an insulating spherical shell. Radius, inner radius is A, outer radius is B, and it is with a uniform volume charge density. Please remember the concept of uniform volume charge density, that is rho in this case. If it is conducting, then this concept will be different. But right now, this is the case for an insulator. So there the concept of conductor won't apply over here. Okay. So let us try to visualize the geometry. So the idea is we have to select a Gaussian surface. So before selecting a Gaussian surface, I need to have a clear picture of the charge distribution. So that is what our idea is. So let us try to understand this. First, let us read the problem, and then we will look for the solution of this problem. Just a minute. So I hope you have understood the statement, what is the statement and what we need to find out. So let us try to analyze it from geometrical point of view. Then we will select Gaussian surface, and then we will try to evaluate electric field for different components. So we can draw a spherical cell. It can be done in 2D and 3D cases. I am showing in 2D. If I slice it out in 2D, this particular sphere of the point under consideration will be in this form, and a uniform volume charge density rho is distributed throughout the cell. So this is what the problem is. I have a sphere. Right now this is in 2D, which has a uniform volume charge density rho across the sphere, and the inner radius is A and outer radius is B. Now I hope the geometry is very clear. Now we are about to calculate electric field from R equals to 0 to R equals to infinity. So this is what our question is, or what our derivation is. We are about to calculate electric field from 0 till infinity. So if I look from 0 to infinity, I can relate this with respect to three different areas. The first area is from 0 to slightly less than A. Then the second area is from A to slightly less than B. And the third area for this case is when R is greater than B. There are three regions which I can talk about, as you can look in the geometry. So the distribution of this particular symmetry is spherical. Let us try to see how it is. So let us start with the first region. The first region is from 0 to R is less than A. So I will define the first geometry as this. Now for first geometry, the center of the cell is 0, 0, and R is less than A. And I have selected this as a Gaussian sphere. And you can write it as net flux will be equivalent to Q enclosed upon epsilon naught. So let us see what it is. How much charge is enclosed by the sphere? That is 0, because you know inside the sphere there is 0 charge. Charge will be only on the sphere, as you can see in the diagram also. The volume charge density is for the sphere. Inside it, it is going to be 0. So Q enclosed is 0. It gives you net flux is 0. If net flux is 0, the only condition for this can be that electric field inside this particular sphere is 0. So the first case, when I am considering to find out electric field for values or for value of R, which is from 0 to less than A, will be that electric field inside this sphere is going to be 0. So please remember, this is our first case. The electric field, just a minute, give me 1 minute, an important call is there. So still my screen is visible? Okay. So, so we are about to go. Yes, it is visible, right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, great. So we were about to calculate electric field inside the sphere, and as per our calculations, we have seen that electric field inside the sphere is going to be 0. And that has to be true because there is no charge inside. Even though some may have an argument that electric field, we have a charge outside in the volume, but still we don't have electric field inside. Because you know, if we have positive charge, then electric field will direct outward in nature. and if I have negative charge, electric field will direct inside in this case. So what will actually happen? I will show you through something. That first question for this is directly I can answer it, that Gauss law says there is no charge means no charge, right? That is what our understanding from the Gauss law is. Now the second statement, which is very important, you can pick any charge on the cell, assume a positive charge, so you can draw an electric field line. Draw an electric field line from the charge out to infinity, because this is positive charge that will go towards infinity. A line never goes into the sphere, and if it did, it would go out anyways, because there is no charge to land on. As I have said, there is no charge inside, so there is no contribution of electric flux inside. So that is the basic reason we can understand. Since inside there is no charge, there will be no net flux inside, and since there is no net flux inside, we will have no net electric field inside a sphere of having uniform volume charge density. So this is our explanation behind giving that electric field inside this particular sphere is 0. Or you can directly say that Gauss says it, so I don't have to prove it. You can take it as an official starting equation where you consider electric field inside a particular sphere is 0. Now the second region, I can consider a region which lies from A to B. We can draw a Gaussian sphere of radius R, which is greater than A but less than B, which is centered at the center of sphere. So I will show you how it is. So I can make a Gaussian sphere of radius R like this, and then we can assume rho is positive, as we have assumed that this is a positive volume charge density, and have a direction to draw the electric field. A negative rho just reverses the direction, as you all know, that positive sign gives you direction outward and negative sign gives you direction inward. So let us do the calculation. I hope you know these all concepts, so I will directly go to the mathematics part and I will show you what it is. So this is the direction of electric field. It will be going outward because of the charge rho. So I will calculate the net flux first. What will be the net flux? From the formula E dot dA. So E is constant. Of course, electric field is going to be constant. And dA is surface area. And I can write surface area of sphere as 4 pi r square. That was very easy part. You can calculate the entire flux because which is generating at this particular point. As you can see, that it will be equivalent to E into area of the sphere, and area of sphere is 4 pi r square. I have already defined this value of r. So the next part is we have to equate it with the charge enclosed upon epsilon naught. So what will be the charge enclosed in this? For finding out the volume charge density is rho, the amount of charge in a volume V is simply rho V, where V is the volume. So let us see how we can calculate the charge enclosed. So for calculating the charge enclosed, I have already shown you this is my Gaussian sphere or the radius of the Gaussian sphere. So I can simply calculate for this particular volume that Q enclosed will be Q, which is shell of inner radius A and outer radius R. We are talking about inner radius A and outer radius R. So I can simply write it as rho, which is volume charge density, into volume of inner radius and outer radius. So this volume we are talking about. I can simply write rho into V sphere of radius R. So this R minus sphere of radius A. I will get this particular volume. So I can do the math and I can find out the charge enclosed by that particular volume. So this is the charge enclosed by that particular volume, which will be equivalent to 4 by 3 pi rho r cube minus a cube. So I have the second definition. We have left hand side, electric flux we have calculated, and we have charge enclosed. We can equate with respect to Gauss law, and from there I can write it as electric field in this particular area because of this particular region will be rho upon 3 r cube minus a cube upon epsilon naught r. So this was our second part or the second region where we have calculated magnitude of E. The direction of this electric field is in radial outward direction. Now the last part is we need to calculate electric field for R greater than B. So let us see how to calculate R greater than B. Again, we'll choose a Gaussian sphere of radius R, and we have this dA vector which is parallel to the electric field. Assuming rho is greater than 0, I can simply write it as electric flux will be E into 4 pi R square, and rho, B shell of inner radius A and outer radius B. We are going to calculate because of B. So simply do the math and you can find out electric field due to that in the third region. That will be equivalent to rho upon 3 epsilon naught R square into B cube minus A cube. So this was the third region where we have calculated electric field because of a particular volume. Now if I want to calculate, if I want to write it, I can write it in this particular fashion. And now you know what will be the amount of electric field inside that sphere at a region on the sphere, we call it, and at a region which is greater than B. So we know inside, on and outside of the sphere what will be the amount of electric field. So now the question arises, it was a bit of mathematics what we have done, and we have seen what are the amount of electric fields at various regions when we consider a sphere of uniform volume charge density, rho. Can we do this without using Gaussian law or Gaussian principle? That is very interesting to know that such things can also be done using simple concepts of electric field. But the moment we start using the simple concept of electric field, it becomes very, very tedious and integration becomes very, very hard. I would like to share something with you that when we integrate an area, generally we consider either a sphere, a cylinder, or a particular pillbox. These all things has a defined area. We don't have to worry about the integration. Suppose if I have a sphere of radius r, you know what will be the integration? That is going to be 4 pi r square. The integration part is much easier, or it is negligible when we use or when we solve things with respect to Gaussian law. So I hope the concept of Gaussian law is very clear. I have denoted it with some examples. If you have any questions, please go ahead with the questions. Otherwise, we'll move up to the next concept where I have to use Gauss law for applying it with line charges or plate charges and all. So I hope these things are interesting or very boring, because sometimes it's very boring to do the entire mathematics by yourself.
सर
Yes, please go ahead.
वो जो हमने फ्लक्स के लिए किया था, टोटल फ्लक्स इनसाइड द सिलेंडर, inside the cylindrical tube is 0. If
Yes.
suppose we have a surface or the area is which is not symmetrical.
Yes, correct.
Suppose suppose we are having tube having less area at end A and higher area at end B.
Yes.
Then in that case we will have some flux inside
Yes, correct. We will have, sure, because number of lines going inside and coming out will be different.
the
Right, that will be the case, and the flux will be, there will be some amount of flux over that particular area.
reside inside the tube.
Yes,
that
correct.
particular thing.
Yes, correct. So I will show you some more examples with Gauss law, and generally when I teach this subject in our bits, I devote some 3 or 4 5 lectures on Gauss law, because all principles of electrostatics can be solved using Gauss law. As you know, I have used Gauss law to find out electric field for a particular geometry. The same Gauss law can be used in any form of geometry for finding out what will be the amount of electric field at a particular point, without involving in mathematical calculations such as integration and differentiation. So that is very important. We can simply use the Gauss law without actually worrying about the proof. Because whatever geometry you will select as a Gaussian geometry, that geometry will be either known geometry, we won't go for an unknown geometry, and for a known geometry, integration over the area you always know it. An area for a sphere you know, for a cylinder you know, for a disk you know, even if you select a rectangle, you already know the area. The integration part becomes very, very simple by simply using the Gauss law to find out electric field at a particular point. So that is what the conceptually says. I will now show you some other examples to find out electric field. Actually, this was meant to start with day 8, and today is of course day 8. But still we have devoted 1 hour for the previous session, but still let's see how things goes on. So as per this understanding about this lecture, I have to complete some examples of Gauss law. Then I have to show you cultural enlightenment time, where I will show you how this Gauss law is very important when we define some parameters of electromagnetic theory. Then the third topic which we need to cover is conductors in electrostatic equilibrium. So how a conductor will behave in electrostatic equilibrium, that is what we have to see by today. If not possible by today, we will continue this by tomorrow. So as you know, Gauss law is applicable to find out electric field. I am considering mostly geometries which are symmetric in nature. Now you can use this concept for asymmetric geometries also, but because of much mathematical calculations, I won't show you. But if someone is interested in some unsymmetric geometries, then you can please go ahead with the calculation. If you face any difficulties, let me know so that I can provide you some light over it. So from the first, you must be able to use Gauss law to calculate the electric field of a high symmetric charge distribution. High symmetric means it is symmetric in nature, and highly symmetric means it is either line, it is either sphere, or it is either cylinder or such type of thing. So let us start with those examples. Let us see how to use Gauss law to calculate electric field over there. Right. So if you recall, just now we have done this. So the last time, of course, in lecture, it is the last time because it was pertaining to the last lecture. And we know this is the world famous Gauss law, which says electric flux is equivalent to charge imposed upon epsilon naught. And we have used this Gauss law to calculate electric field for symmetrical charge distribution, as you have already seen. Today we will calculate electric field for charge distribution that are non-spherical but exhibits a high degree of symmetry, and then consider Gauss law to find out what will be the behavior of a conductor in electrostatic equilibrium. So that is our last stage. Today we will be seeing some examples. So let us see what we are going to do today. So we are going to calculate the electric field outside a long cylinder of finite radius r with a uniform volume charge density rho spread throughout the volume of the cylinder. So now this is the case where we are going to calculate electric field intensity or electric field for a long cylinder which has a finite radius r with a uniform volume charge density rho spread throughout the volume of the cylinder. So see, we have already done done this type of thing. And we can simply write it as E equals to rho of mod of rho r square upon 2 epsilon naught r, where r is the radius. But I will show you actually how to do this, because these will give you a finite understanding about how to discretize the geometry and how to apply Gauss law. So let us start with this calculation and visualize the problem, and then we will try to understand what will be the solution for this. Right. So as I was saying, that we have to calculate electric field outside a long cylinder. Long cylinder means I'm talking about infinite long cylinder, and we have a particular radius of the cylinder, that is r. So we have an infinite long cylinder whose radius is r and very long. Now if you want to calculate electric field, if you recall, we can do it by using del E equals to K del Q upon R square. That is what our starting equation was when we were talking about calculation of electric field. But if we use over here, integration part will make your life hell. That is very important, because you will not be able to do the complete integration using that particular fundamental formula. So for solving such geometry, I will be using Gaussian law, or I call it as Gaussian geometry, for evaluating electric field due to this this cylinder containing certain amount of volume charges. So this is the cylinder we start with, which has a uniform volume charge density rho. So we have this, which is of course greater than 0. So it is positive in nature. I have defined the parameter. So I have defined the parameter rho, which is positive. And what will be the direction of electric field? It will be towards the radial direction, as it is shown over here. So this is the direction of electric field. R is the radius of the cylinder. This is the direction of electric field. It is coming in radial direction. And if you see the side view of this, it will look something like this from the axis point of view. This is the Gaussian sphere I am choosing, which has a radius r. Electric fields are in this direction. And dA, that is area vector, that will be parallel to the electric fields. So now we have this geometry. R is the radius. Let us consider this Gaussian cylinder, which has a radius of small r. dA is the vector of area, which is parallel to the electric field. Now this particular Gaussian cylinder is finite in nature, which has a length L. So what we have done, we have a cylinder which is very long in nature, but I have going to calculate electric flux on a Gaussian cylinder, and then I will relate this electric flux with total volume, total charge upon epsilon naught. From there I will find out electric field. So there was an infinite geometry. Now because of that infinite geometry, I am about to make a geometry which is finite in nature. In this case, this is Gaussian cylinder, and I have defined the parameters of Gaussian cylinder. So for finding out electric flux, you can simply apply the concept. It is inside the cylinder, E must be radial, so that is what it should be. Right. So let us see how to find out electric flux on the cylinder. So as we have applied for a cylinder, and we have already seen what will be the electric flux on the cylinder when it is kept in uniform electric field. So there are 3 sections. First section, you can see direction of electric field, area is over here for the left cap. Electric field is like this. What will be the total amount of electric flux? That will be 0, because E is perpendicular to dA. Right side, again, dA is like this. Electric field is in this direction. So we will get E dot dA equals to 0. So flux on the left cap and right cap will be 0. I hope you would have understood it, because the same thing we have done in the previous case. Please remember, in this case, direction of electric field is radial to the radius. So this is the direction of electric field. For left cap, flux is going to be 0. For right cap, again flux is going to be 0. And the flux due to the tube will be like this. So dA is parallel to E. So it will make cos theta as 1. So we will have E dot dA. I will simply write it. Let's see what will we get. So E dA, because E is parallel to dA. Now, what will be value of mod? This E will be written in terms of mod, and R is a constant at a particular point for this particular Gaussian cylinder. Okay. Now let us see. Just give me one minute. Hello? Yeah, and here who is this? Right. Tell me. Yeah. See, I am in the middle of something. Can you call me later at about 12:30? Yeah, please call me at 12:30. I will talk with you. Okay. Fine. Okay. Okay. So what we were discussing is this. We were discussing about flux on a tube. So as you know, flux on a tube will be E dot dA. So I can write it as E into dA. Now integrate dA. What will be the integration of dA? Or over the tube? That is circumference of Gaussian cylinder into length of the Gaussian cylinder. So this is the circumference. I can simply write this as 2 pi r into L. So I have got the flux on the Gaussian cylinder. This is E into 2 pi r L, and which will be equivalent to charge enclosed upon epsilon naught from the Gauss law. So charge enclosed will be rho into volume enclosed. And what is the volume? Volume is A of base into length. So what is A of base? Is pi r square, as you can see, into L. L is the length of the Gaussian sphere. And you can write it as epsilon naught, as you know. So if I equate both the left hand side and right hand side, I can straight away write E is equivalent to rho r square upon 2 epsilon naught r. So this is the amount of electric flux, electric field at a point r, at a point radial point r from this center of the infinite cylinder. So I hope now mathematics is very clear. It is a bit tricky, but you can always discretize the geometry into small segments in terms of Gauss cylinder, Gauss sphere and all. And you can find out what will be the actual amount of electric field at a distance r. Now you may recall, if rho is positive, then it will be radially out. If it is negative, it will be radially inside. That is what you can write. In general, we write it as electric field equals to rho r square upon 2 epsilon naught r. So this is the amount of electric field which will be at a point r. So r will be constant for Gaussian cylinder, as you can see. So E will be equivalent to mode of rho. So rho can be positive and negative depending upon what type of rho is being provided. Generally, we recommend rho should be greater than 0, and r is the radius of the cylinder which was under consideration. R is the point which is located away from this larger r, and this is the final value of electric field due to this. Now there is some more relationship. For a solid cylinder, charge per volume rho is given as Q upon pi r square L, and charge per length is given as lambda Q upon L. So I can write rho is equivalent to lambda upon pi r square. Now I can keep the value of rho in terms of lambda, and I can write it as E is equivalent to mod of lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught r. So this was the calculation and how we can find out electric field at a particular point r. So what is interesting about it, we have not done integration. We have done we can do the same calculation, applying the principles of integration, what we already know, but without doing integration, we are able to calculate electric field generated by an infinite size of cylinder, which has a uniform volume charge density, and we are able to calculate electric field. Isn't it interesting? It depends upon two factors. It depends upon radius of cylinder, it depends upon volume charge density over the cylinder, and it also depends upon the distance from where we are at what we are calculating the electric field. So I hope you have got this. Any issues with this? The same mathematics you can do when you need to calculate electric field without using Gauss law. You can simply take a point and you can calculate uh, all vectors and finally sum up those vectors and then integrate that particular thing with the volume, and finally you can get electric. That is also very true, you can do it, but actually in real world the problem is very harsh, the problem is large. So to solve such type of problems, we can go for Gauss law and we can simply use Gauss law to relate electric field with respect to the amount of charge enclosed by an object. So that is how you can do it. Now let us see another example where I will be using Gauss law to calculate the electric field due to a long line of charge with linear charge density. So we have already done. If you see in our previous lectures, that was a pain to calculate the amount of electric field due to this particular line. We have to find out every point and then we have to relate that point with respect to small dq. Because of that small dq, I got some amount of dE. Then I have integrated that dq to the entire volume. Then we have got it. But when we use Gauss law, it becomes straight away very simple. You take a Gaussian surface and then just evaluate the flux and relate it with the total charge, you will finally get the electric field. So I'll quickly show you how to do this, because this is very important to understand that contribution of Gauss was enormous. He has tried to give a relationship between electric flux and charge, and because of that, our life is very simple and we are able to calculate electric field without going deep into the integration. Please remember, going deep into integration is very, very difficult. There are many operators over which integration is literally impossible. So Gauss law makes life very easy, and let us try to do how it is. So let us see, we have a very long line, we call it as infinite line, and we are about to calculate electric field due to this infinite line. So again, how to do this? We will start with understanding the problem. So the problem is, we have a long line with a linear charge density lambda. So we have this linear charge density lambda, which is of course greater than 0. My consideration is always it is positive, right? Electric field lines will move away from the charge. So this is positive, electric field lines goes like this, as you can see, for an infinite length, right? Now, if we look from the point of view of down, this is how electric field looks like from the side. This is the point, and this is coming, this is the coordinates. Suppose x, y, and z. If line is in x, then electric field is going to be in y. I'm showing you the side view. This is how electric field will be. Line will look like a point from the side, and this is how electric field will be generated. So what I will do, I can simply take a a cylinder again in this case, and I can have an area which is in radial direction. R is the radius, and again I can find out electric flux on that particular cylinder and equate it with respect to the total charge enclosed, and I can write it in terms of electric field. That is what I can do. So let us see again how we will evaluate this. If you can see, we have done the calculation in the previous case when we have considered a cylinder. So this is the length. Again, I can directly write it as 2 pi r into L. This is from the previous statement what we have already done. Please remember, we have calculated electric flux on the cap, on this cap, and on this. So for this cap it was 0, for this cap it was 0, and electric flux was only on the tube, and we have integrated the area, and finally we have got it as electric field will be equivalent to some value that we have already calculated in the previous case. In this case, I am writing straight away that the electric flux will be equivalent to E2 pi r. So r is the radius of our Gaussian cylinder, L is the length of the Gaussian cylinder, and Q enclosed upon epsilon naught. That will be the total charge. What will be Q enclosed in this case? This will be lambda, which is linear charge density, into L. So we are talking about this length L. This much amount of charge will be enclosed. I can write it in terms of this value. So lambda L upon epsilon naught. You can straight away get it as E equals to lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught R. So this is very interesting. Without doing integration, we already know for the cases of a cylinder that what will be your surface area, what will be the volume charge density, what will be a linear charge density, and you can simply write electric field in terms of linear charge density and distance without actually going for the integral calculus. As you have seen in our previous lectures, that we do integrations from left to right, from right to left, from giving limits and then evaluating. These all things are very difficult. Instead of that, I can straight away apply Gauss law, and you know applying Gauss law is very simple. You have to just define the geometry, or we call it as Gaussian geometry, then evaluate over that Gaussian geometry and find out what is the amount of charge enclosed by that particular Gaussian geometry. As in this case, you know what will be the area? Area is 2 pi r. R is the radius of the cylinder. L is the length. So this is the actual area, volume, area enclosed by this volume. E is the uniform electric field. What will be the charge? Charge will be Q. In this case, we are considering only length, this much length, because this much length will be enclosed by this Gaussian cylinder. So it becomes lambda into L. The lambda is linear charge density into L. L is the length of this wire, and epsilon naught. Simply got it. So E equals to lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught R. So we got electric field due to a line charge, infinite line charge, without applying integration. So this is very important in terms of Gauss law, that we can simply find out the values of electric field at a particular point without applying Gauss, or without applying integration and differentiation. Straight away you can do this. Okay. So if I need to find out the direction, you know, since this charge is positive in nature, electric field will come out. It will be radially out in direction. Okay. In general, I can write it as E is mod of lambda upon 2 pi epsilon naught R. And they are same as outside a solid cylinder. That is how you can find out electric field due to an infinite line. Line was infinite, and as per our calculation, we have considered the thickness of the line is negligible. So we have seen 3 cases of Gauss law. If you recall, first case, we have used Gauss law to find out what will be electric field because of a point charge. Then we have seen Gauss law to find out what will be the electric field due to a very long cylinder with uniform volume charge distribution. And the third case, what we have seen is that we have a line of infinite length with uniform planar charge density, lambda, and we have found out electric field across. So these three cases we have done. One more case I would like to introduce because that is very important and important from practical point of view also, because many a time people want to find out what will be the electric field due to a sheet which has a uniform surface charge. So I'll quickly go through that. Let's see. So we use Gauss law to calculate the electric field due to an infinite sheet of charge with surface charge density is sigma. So we have already done this when I was discussing about how to find out electric field from various charges. So we can do this simply by using Gauss law. And I have already said Gauss law is used where we have to ease with the mathematics. The integration part will be zero for this. Without actually going into integration, we can find out what will be the electric field due to an infinite sheet of charge whose surface charge density is 6. So I will quickly show you. So let us see, this is the geometry. So you can see this is an infinite, is considered as infinite, it is not finite in nature. This is, you can see from the side, if you see from the top, we have this. Both have sigma as surface charge density. We are about to calculate what will be electric field at a point. That point can be R, L, whatever it is. So we will start with the Gauss law to find out the flux. Before that, let us indicate what will be the electric field. So this is positive, and electric field will be emerging outward in direction. So this will be the orientation of electric field, this direction and this direction. If you look from this point of view, from top point of view, electric field is in this direction, and then that will be pointing towards out of the screen. Now for electric field symmetry, we usually use a pillbox that is cylindrical in shape for our Gaussian surface. It looks like a rectangle from one side and it looks from circle from the other side, from the two corners. So I hope you know what is pillbox, because for analyzing such type of geometry, we use pillbox concept. If you don't know, then please Google it out and find out what is pillbox. But right now, I hope everyone knows pillbox, and let us see how the pillbox configuration can be used to analyze electric field because of a sheet. So this is the diagram. Electric field is perpendicular to the sheet. Pillbox has a height h. It has two discs. It has a radius r. You can see this is now the case. So if I see from this, from top view or side view, it will look something like this. R is the radius. It has two caps. So I can straight away write it as 2 because there are two caps. And the area will be pi r square. Pi r square because this is pi r square. This will be pi r square. That's why it comes 2. And it will be equivalent to charge enclosed upon epsilon naught. What will be charge enclosed? Charge enclosed for that particular pillbox will be sigma, which is surface charge density, into pi r square, because pi r square is that area. Now equate it. That's very simple, straight away. So this geometry, what we have done, we can simply do all things using Gauss law. So it is away from the sheet, as you all know. In general, we write it in this form. So this E is sigma upon 2 epsilon naught, which is directing away from the sheet. In general, we can write it as sigma upon 2 epsilon naught. Now this is very, very easy as compared to the derivation what we have done in our previous lectures. If you recall our lecture number 2 or 3 on electromagnetics, we have done the same derivation and it took almost 20 minutes for doing it. But using Gauss law, it takes 2 minutes to do those things. And that's why I always say Gauss law is very, very important. And this was our last for pertaining to Gauss law or application of Gauss law. And I will relate it. So if I have a charge symmetry in spherical, then I can use Gauss surface as concentric sphere. If I have a cylinder, then I can use coaxial cylinder. If I have planar, I can use pillbox. So this is what about Gauss law is. I hope you have got the concept of Gauss law. And depending upon the geometry, depending upon the charge distribution, you can use either form of the Gauss law. You can use the either geometry of Gauss law and Gaussian surface, and you can evaluate the flux. That flux you relate with respect to the total charge enclosed, and that flux is always related to electric field. You will be able to determine electric field due to that particular volume of charge, which is very difficult when we integrate it with respect to the actual integrals and differential calculus. So that is all I have to say regarding Gauss law. I have shown you how you can use Gauss law on different geometries and how to calculate it. It's very simple, straight away. But please remember, in case of examination, if something is asked to evaluate without Gauss law, you should go ahead without Gauss law. If question says you have to use Gauss law, please go with Gauss law. Things won't change, things will be same. Either use Gauss law or you go with normal derivation, what we have done in our previous one. So right, that's all from my side. If you have any queries, please go ahead and pop up questions. If you don't have, then that's all from my side for today. So I hope there is no question. Well, then there's no question, then I will go ahead. Let's continue with this further analysis of this thing from tomorrow. That's all for today. Bye-bye.